And on this day 3, Christopher Schurr's defense team made requests that could have stopped the trial altogether. 13 on your side's Josh Albertus is also covering the trial this week. And Josh, you talked to experts about this. What was the defense asking for?
On day 3 of the trial of former Grand Rapids police officer Christopher Schurr, charged with murder in the death of Patrick Loyola, the prosecution resting its case. After they did so, Schurr's defense team saying they would make 2 requests that could have brought the case to a halt. The first, a request for a mistrial based on past expert testimony.
At this point, we believe that we're too far along with the jury to simply strike their testimony because they have heard testimony from 2 of the people's experts now that do not accurately and are not nowhere near based on what the law is in Michigan and what should be considered and whether or not Officer Schurr was justified in using deadly force.
The second, a motion for what's called a directed verdict.
What they were asking for the court to do is to declare that the prosecution hadn't established enough evidence to meet every element of the offense.
That directed verdict would essentially have put the power of the verdict in the hands of Judge Christina Mims.
And what they were saying is that, hey, even if you take all the facts in the light most favorable to the prosecution, at the end of the day, they did not establish enough facts for a reasonable jury to conclude beyond a reasonable doubt that it was without justification.
Such a motion, these experts told us, are very common in criminal cases. But both of these requests were denied by Judge Mims. When it came to the motion for a directed verdict,
she carefully went through those elements and explained that there was evidence that, in her opinion, a reasonable jury could find the elements had been proved.
And on the request for a mistrial,
the judge was very careful going through saying that the reason she had allowed and ruled the experts on the prosecution's case, why they could testify and what they could testify to, and because, in her opinion, that testimony was admissible, it did not support a motion for a mistrial.
Now, Josh, could these requests factor in at all later on?
Well, one of those experts actually told me, Juliet, I talked to them earlier, they said that the move to make a directed verdict could preserve the issue for appeal, they said, based on what's known as a sufficiency of the evidence appeal basis. So the jury's verdict remains to be seen, but if they do move toward any kinds of conviction, the move could factor into an appeal later on.
Thank you, Josh.